Hello. Hello. I always wonder, because you know I'm Wonder Man, I always wonder, how am I going to open with, what am I going to open with, or how, when I present on Sunday? Well, this just popped up. Of course it does. That demonstration that just shows up in perfect time and place. And it's this: how many know the American television sitcom Hogan's Heroes? You don't have to be OLD. You can just because it's in But so just to refresh your memory, Hogan's Heroes is set in a prisoner of war camp in Nazi Germany during World War II, and it centers around a group of Allied prisoners who use the POW camp as an operations base for sabotage and espionage, all directed against the Nazi of Germany. The American Colonel Robert Hogan coordinates and coordinated an international crew of Allied prisoners covertly under the radar, running a special operations group from the camp. So it's like a mole within, your Colonel Klink was oblivious and obtuse, that commanded of the camp. But he was just like, "Oh, here I am. I'm the big guy." But he didn't know what was going on. So my favorite character, though, of all, was the Nazi sergeant of the guard, Schultz. Hans Schultz. Loved his helmet. Well, Schultz would step into a conversation that the prisoners were having, and he would overhear some stuff. And he knew it was bad, but it was some sort of a activity that probably shouldn't be allowed, but he just could never quite figure it out. And he'd walk in unannounced, and he would hear stuff, and he'd go, "Ooh." And but his famous response in those times was, "I know nothing. I know nothing." Anyone here like that? Well, Schultz was in denial, right, of what he saw, because he really wasn't quite sure, but he thought he knew stuff. And in his defense, knowing nothing always seemed to provide him more information, didn't it? But he never quite got all of it. I've been there, not in prison, but I've been in those places. How about you? Have you known those who proclaim to know so much about everything? And they stand tall and firm in how much they know? Well, being a good student, I like to listen, so I'll go along. But I used to call that a know-it-all. There wasn't much room for any incoming information. I know it, so my door is closed. You have to listen to me. Well, my lesson title is "What Do You Know?" It's about not knowing it all. What do you know is about not knowing it all. Scares some people to think they don't know what's going on in their own lives. I've been there. Anybody else? Yeah. Well, I've chosen 3 ways to emphasize the question, which is, what do you know? The first one is, what do you know? What do you know? And for today, I've chosen the third. What do you know. Because it's all about you. It's all about you. Because in this teaching, all about you is your spirituality, your growth, your authenticity. It's not the what or the do, but rather the you, Y-O-U. Well, my suggestion here is some wisdom from Wonder Man. Foundation life on your intentions, and then step into your life with a mental state of wonder. Wonder is being open. It's being aware. It's being curious. My spiritual practice begins each day with many things, but this is one that I question my state of consciousness. I put that little nugget in every day. I wonder who I'll see today, especially here on Sunday. And what will I learn today? That's an open field, isn't it? Well, philosopher and former Lord High Chancellor of Great Britain, Francis Bacon, born January 1561, was considered one of the founders of modern scientific inquiry. Isn't that interesting? He stated, "Wonder is the basis of worship." Wonder is the basis of worship, spirituality. I like that a lot. Wonder is the basis of worship. Now, our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, writes in the textbook on page 251, quote, "Realize that your part is merely to accept fully the fact that creative law within you knows." You don't have to, but creative law knows. And performs every right action at the right time. That it synchronizes all impulses toward the event, which is to your knowing. It is its nature to do so. There's that do word, to do so. It could not do otherwise. Let your mind dwell on the wonder of this knowing intelligence, which works out the scheme. Kind of like Hogan's Heroes. It works out the scheme. End quote. So, the more you reside in the mental worship wonder, the more you know that you do not need to know how to do. Want to hear that again? The more you reside in the mental worship wonder, the more you know that you do not need to know how to do. Whew. Isn't that great? Freedom. And when you realize that freedom, that takes you out of the bondage of others' judgments, of other of your self-judgments. That's one of the biggest. It's easier to maybe slough off the judgment of others, but our own judgments run so deep, so deep. And you realize the freedom from whatever it is that you've been dragging around. Because you know what? It weighs you down, doesn't it? The Book of Not Knowing by Peter Ralston shares on page 81, quote, "Insight is an authoritative expression that begins with not knowing." Insight is an authoritative expression that begins with not knowing. While the mind habitually clings to knowledge, accusations, and beliefs, these are in fact obstacles to awakening insight. In other words, when we hold things to be a certain way, we restrict our openness to all other possibilities. End quote. That was the definition of a know-it-all. Thank you, Ernest Holmes. First slide, please. How you feel right now is your life. Don't squander it in resistance. What you're complaining about right now, that's your life. What are you talking about right now? That's your life. What are you appreciating right now? That's your life. Thank you, Abraham. So I ask you, you needn't speak, but you can just think and ponder. What are you resisting in life? Just take a moment. There's always something I'm resisting. Darn it. What are you talking about? What's your chatter? What's your auto response to life? And what are you appreciating? Don't cry over the past, it's gone. Don't stress about the future, it hasn't arrived. Live in the present and make it beautiful. How many live in the past? Oh, somebody hurt me, somebody said a bad word, and I'm so abused and diminished. And you probably are feeling that. But why? But why? If you live from what was and look and live from what might be, we aren't living in the present. We can't savor what's right here. Ernest Holmes scribed in this thing called you, with a good-natured flexibility with yourself, learn to rise from confusion into peace, from sadness into joy. Believe in yourself. Have confidence in the high implosions that come to you. Isn't that great? Implosions. Love that. I love that too. Slide, please. Miriam Hasna invites us to imagine how you would feel if you weren't seeking permission, approval, or trying to prove something. Memorize that feeling. Live in the now. So, beloveds, through spiritual studies, back in the beginning with Dr. Carolyn, thank you, seeking approval or permission about who you are is a feeling of I'm not enough. We've all felt that at some point, maybe even today. I'm not enough. Truth is, you and I are always enough. Say that, please. I am enough. Another time. I'm enough. One more time. I am enough. Thank you. Well, the key is to break away from others' expectations. You have a mind, you have a voice, you can take action. So I'm wondering right now if you know just a little bit more about you than at the beginning of today's lesson. So let's revisit the wisdom of Abraham. Next slide, please. We're going to do this again because it bears repeating. How you feel right now is your life. What is the feeling? Don't squander it in resistance. What are you complaining about right now? That's your life. What are you talking about right now? In your head, in your mind? What's the chatter? That's your life. But what are you appreciating? What are you appreciating? I'm trusting whatever it is something greater. That's your life. That's your life. Release complaining, judgmental thoughts and behaviors, even your own. That was your life. Choose words that uplift your soul, that raise you up in a vibratory frequency. Thank you, Don, this morning during meditation. Allow that frequency to be felt and revealed. And ultimately, it's felt within those in your circle of influence. People feel you. They see you, but they feel you before you even say a word. So what are they feeling? This is your life. Appreciate the life you have right now and nourish it. Nourish its evolution into its greatest expression. This isn't the best right now. It might be pretty good. It could be in the dumps. So yeah, there's something greater being revealed through the process, through the chrysalis, gooey, ooey stuff as well. But it's getting through it, which is so good for our souls. And what do you know? New ideas, new attitudes, and expressions just may be the bravest thing you've ever done. I've changed the words a little bit there. So what do you know? When revelation happens, when demonstration appears, and it will, you say, oh, what do you know? There it is. Whoa. That's what I knew. Hey, love that. So, beloved, is what do you know right now? I know a whole lot, but it may not be important to anybody else. But I know a whole lot. I have a lot of experience in life, like most of us here. And I invite you to, maybe at refreshment time, to sit with someone you haven't sat with before or in a long time. Ask them, so, what should I know about you? What do I know? What do you know? You'll be surprised and amazed and enriched, for sure. Well, the answer for me, what do I know? I know a lot, but not all of everything. I know a lot, but not all of everything. So would you affirm with me, I'm willing to be open-minded. I am ready for greater understanding of me. Understand. And ultimately thee. So as I near conclusion today, I'm going to do a quote from this thing called You Again. That's my favorite book of all times. And this is it. Spirit is absolute. unlimited, and ever available. Spirit is right where you are. Spirit fills all space, flows through all form, relates everything, governs everything through love, controls everything. End quote. Then he goes on to say, I quote, controls everything through law, expresses life and beauty in everything. So the more you allow Spirit its flow, you'll be saying, well, what do you know? What do you know? I didn't know that till right now. Keep opening, growing, expanding your life by loving and living in the mental atmosphere of wonderment. That's all you need to know for now. Namaste. So it is.